Moving on and going now to the United States, a California couple was arrested after police discovered they were keeping their 13 children captive in their home in filthy conditions. The police discovered the children were being held captive in home after one of the children, a 17-year-old girl, escaped the house. She told the police that her brothers and sisters were being held captive inside the house and that some of them had even been chained to their beds. The children are aged between 2 to 29 years old. The parents have been arrested and have been charged with torture. The couple's neighbors were shocked to hear about this news.
I just heard on Facebook and on the news that this family hold their children captive in their house and chain some of their kids to the beds and things. So it's just been really shocking knowing that they have like 12 kids locked in their house.
They were the type that you didn't really get to know anything about them. They were very to themselves, in a sense, clannish. So they only kept to themselves. So, and the only time you would see them, you would never see anyone visit. You would never see anyone come outside. All you would really see is that they'd go out, maybe make a grocery run, and that was about it.
The rescued children are finally now being treated at a medical center.
In the time we live in, it's unfortunate to see this. It's actually heartbreaking for the staff, and it's unbelievable what you see.
Joining us on this story, we have our correspondent Aisha Sindhu. Aisha, good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. So, this is humanity at its worst. But what more details? How is it possible that 13 young human beings are kept captive? How is it possible that the security services, that no one notices that?
Absolutely, Daniele. That's a great question, and I think that was what shocked the neighbors so much as well. They weren't aware that this was what was going on inside what looked like an innocuous, like a regular suburban home in the United States. Interestingly, even the authorities, when they finally managed to get to the house, this was after a 17-year-old child managed to escape and get to the police to inform them of what's going on in her own home. The authorities were shocked to hear that she was 17 because she didn't look much older than 10 as per their accounts. So not only were they confined in that home, also authorities have found that they were severely malnourished, that the house was darkened, they didn't have access to adequate food and water, and it just seems that no one really was in the know because these kids were homeschooled by the admission of their own grandparents. David Turpin's father and mother have spoken with police and said that the children were homeschooled, and therefore perhaps neighbors didn't come to know that something was amiss because they never ended up leaving the house.
Aisha, do you think this is a kind of tragic mirror of the American society, which is more and more of an individual society, where the collective sphere kind of lost the primary role it should have in a normal country? I'm thinking about India, for instance, where perhaps this could have not happened due to the thousands of eyes on your houses.
Absolutely, and I think it's an urban phenomenon more and more, Daniele. You pointed out that India might be a little different, but I think certain centers of urban centers in India too are experiencing this silo sort of system of living. Nuclear families going to work and coming back home, not much interaction between neighbors and people down the street. And suburban America is perhaps the best example of that same idea, where people are busy in their own lives, grappling with their own bills that have to be paid, jobs that have to be gone to, and children that have to be taken care of. So absolutely this has gotten caught up. That question has also been raised about this particular case, and I should point out that this isn't the first time that such a case has come to light. In fact, this is California. California was also the very same place where another young woman by the name of J.C. Dugard was found by authorities after she was kidnapped and held captive for 18 years by her neighbors, husband and wife, who had held her captive for 18 years. In fact, Dugard was sexually abused while she was in captivity. She gave birth to two of her children during that time as well. So a number of cases like this coming to light in the United States, in Austria as well. In fact, that is something we'll be focusing on at 8 p.m. tonight, looking at some of the other cases that have come to light, just as the Turpin family.
Thank you very much. This was my colleague, our correspondent, Aisha Sindhu, helping us to understand better what could be the reason behind humanity at its worst, I would say, when 13 8 young human beings were kept captive in California by a couple. Join her at 8 p.m. to have a look at other cases like these happen in the world.